Hey all, Scott here, and it is Non-TSR Tuesday. Today we are going to take another look at a Middle-earth role-playing product that would be Dark Mage of Rhudaur. Rhudaur, obviously something that we had talked about in Hillman of the Trollshaws, and I was reminded that there is a Rhudaur addition to this set. So I looked it up, and I had it in my collection, although it was something that I had never played. And so today we're going to really look at it in conjunction with Hillman of the Trollshaws, which we've already gone over. The Rhudaur is a really neat area of Middle-earth that borders on the Misty Mountains. And it gives you a little access to Rivendell if you wanted to have elves involved in it, but really it's a place that is more of an angst point between the Dunedain and Hillman. The Hillmen that are going to be aligned to Angmar, the Witch King, and to Sauron. And in this particular adventure, we're talking about some Blood Whites, trolls, obviously, because the Trollshaws are here, and the Fellwood. And also, this adventure revolves around towers of the Dunedain. They're beacon towers. Obviously, the Dunedain love to do beacon towers, so that is what this is about. And it is a really cool series of adventures because it sets up around an assault. So it is written by Jeff McCage. Jeff also did Hillman of the Trollshaws, so he knows this region very well and the history that Tolkien would have developed for it. So he is going to definitely know what he's talking about. He would be a fun one to have as a DM of this one, as a matter of fact, because he knows his history so well. All right, so having said that, I'll just get into it a little bit. Obviously, this adventure here is covered by Angus McBride. Take a look. Now, Angus he's originally English, but he actually moved to South Africa, where he did most of his work. And I'm not sure how he came in contact with ICE, but he did a vast amount of works, not only for Rolemaster, but particularly for their Middle-earth role-playing game. I would consider him the one that made this famous, because so many people know his work. And his work it's just unbelievable, really, when you ask me. Some of the best fantasy work, period. I don't care what game, what genre, anything. It's really tough to beat Angus's work. Obviously, Angus passed away over a decade ago, but nevertheless, his work is well remembered, and I absolutely love every piece that I've ever seen of his. He also did a lot of work in Osprey, if anyone is a fan of the Osprey work, where they catalog like Roman legions and their equipment, or even up to World War I, World War II. He did a lot of work for Osprey. That's where you think he got his start, and then he bled stuff over into the fantasy realm here with ICE and their Rolemaster. In Middle-earth. But nevertheless, that's Angus. Absolutely love him. This is a great cover, and it actually has a lot to do with the adventure, which is an orcish assault on one of these beacon towers. And you can see there are actually two Blood Rights that are flying around it, shapeshifters. He even got those in. So it's awesome. The interior artwork is done by Liz Danforth. I've had the pleasure of working with Liz on a couple of occasions. She is magnificent. She is a great character illustrator, and that's what she's probably known for, doing most of the Middle-earth role-playing, is just doing characters. She does a great character in here. I'm going to check my notes so I make sure I get her name right. It's Ian Feld. Check her out. She is worth just playing the adventure for, in my opinion. I would have played for Ian Feld, and she is at the tower that is going to be assaulted. Anyway, let's get to this adventure. I'm going to grab my notes, and we'll take a look. Okay, it starts out with 2 pages that are dealing with the mechanics and also adapting the module. And this is something you're going to find in a lot of these adventures, is a quick chart and access point for adapting the adventure to other adventures or other mechanics, but really what they're talking about is Dungeons and Dragons. It equates it how to easily switch stuff over. So if you have an item that's +5%, 5% in this, that would be +1. so forth and so on, and it takes you through the chart. So you can convert this to D&D if you wanted to play it in D&D. So that's something that's going to take up the first 2 pages. Then they have a page of pre-generated player characters. There are 18 of them on this single chart page, so it's little, you know, my eyes aren't as good anymore, but they are there, 18 of them. That would make it very easy for you to just throw stuff out for people and have a really good selection on what you wanted to play if you were playing this. You go into the next four pages, which is really more of a history. By McCage, it is the intro to the border wars between really 2 people. That would be the Kulturith Rangers and the Volsegi. Both of these are kind of old mercenaries, rangers, groups that have their own families and such, and all they want to do is just get into it with each other all the time. So they're back and forth, and then of course you've got the Witch King of Angmar, who is looking to take out these towers, that is involved in here as well. Then of course you have a lot of forest trolls, and stone trolls. I think there's a snow troll in here. Lots of trolls because you're in the Troll Shaw. It's the most heavily populated area of trolls in Middle Earth. Keep that in mind. The trolls typically range about 7 or 8 in level. And again, Middle Earth role playing is 1st to 10th for a player character. So keep that in mind, what you're looking at. And this all takes place in the Rhudaur, in the Troll Shaws, in a place called the Angle, which is kind of a windswept plain area with some scattered forest clumps. So that's going to be in there. Then you go into four pages of what would be the first set of adventures. They're kind of like setup adventures. It's Before the Snow Falls is what it's called, and it gives you the opportunity to like get into the area as the characters, start to familiarize yourself with some of the places, because all these places are going to be given to you in Elven. And you know, unless you're well versed in Elven, that's going to go right to your head. It reminds me of when I play L5R, which I absolutely love, which is on the lower shelves back there. But I cannot, for the life of me, remember Japanese or Chinese names. They just don't stick in my head. And that's the same way with Elven. But they do give you translations for that. Nevertheless, you're going to need to familiarize yourself with that, and maybe if you played enough, you will get those Elven words as well. Mithrandir versus Gandalf, that kind of stuff. Everything's got at least 2 names. Anyway, it gives you setup for experience points for the characters. It gives you the ability to familiarize yourself with stuff. You can like protect a caravan from maybe one of these raiders, the Volsegi, you know, something like that. But anyway, it basically sets you up in it before the snows. And then the next section is the biggest one. That's the main bulk of adventure. It's 13 pages long inside the module. It's called Besieged. It's in 4 parts. 1, Nightfall. 2, the Battle of Tithron, which is the beacon tower that you will be trying to defend, which is on the front cover. 3, Striking Back. And 4, the Grand Assault. It's not something that you get a lot of in the adventures in Middle-earth that I've seen. Most of that is going to be fairly murder hobo-y or just moving around. This is an actual siege. Obviously, this is something that plays out again and again in Tolkien's writings, so it'd be really, really neat to be involved in something like that. There's nothing epic about this. All these towers eventually fall. But it will be epic for the characters that are involved in it, to say that you defended one of these towers against orcs and blood rights, you know, before you move on or do something else. It's a huge thing. So keep that in mind, and you know, have fun with it. The tower is set up. That's where you will find Ianfeld. There are a lot of great NPCs here that are well detailed. They all have pictures by Danforth. And you will be ready to take this on and go against the really cool blood rights, which are here. They are agents of the Witch King, who is currently spinning a plot to take out all these towers so he can defend his supply lines for a greater assault into the Rhudaur and the lower regions. So, having said that, the last part of this is called the Horror on the Fellwood. The Fellwood is the one of the most ancient forests, you know, we hear that a lot in Tolkien, right, of Middle-earth. It is a fell region, and it has a kind of an arc blood right in it called Blogath as a female blood right, and Sauron as the necromancer of Mirkwood has told the Witch King to go wake her up. We'll have her on our side, and she'll cause more problems for the Alliance or the good forces. So you have the ability at the end of this, after doing the assault, after doing the Besieged and all that, you've got enough levels under you probably, and you could play for weeks and weeks in this, I think. Then you could go try to take out the lead blood right. If you do so, you're going to go through, there's something called the Crystal Caves, where you're going to find a lot of trolls, and then Blogoth's lair. Again, in that lair and also the caves, there are no hexes on these maps, so they're hard to replicate if somebody's going to be a mapper. Keep that in mind. That's something you always find in the Middle-earth role-playing. And Blogath herself is a 30th level blood right. So good luck with that one. Not saying you can't take out a 30th level character. You could, but nevertheless, it'll be difficult. And luckily in the adventure, it says she would rather flee, do her evils somewhere else. So you probably don't have to kill her. My notes here kind of that's going to be the overall of this particular adventure. Lots of stuff to do, lots of cool stuff, and it helps you get even more involved in the region. I like this a lot more than Hillman of the Trollshaws, but because of the way it's set up, and it kind of gives you a place to go, instead of being fractured over a large amount of time periods like the initial modules were. So if you use this in conjunction with what you want to use with Trollshaws, you're going to be able to have some really cool adventures, especially if you're using Cameth Bryn out of Trollshaws, which is the regional capital in the Rhudaur, and you could kind of run interference back and forth in that, or have some, the Dunedain could still be in control of it, or in this case, it says that it's actually controlled by an agent of the Witch King, which could be fun too. So keeping all that in mind, you've got a really rich region here that McCage has detailed in 2 base modules for Middle-earth role-playing. Again, you could convert those over to D&D and use it if you chose to, and just using this as reference. You could use Cube 7's The One Ring. That's a nice system. I think that they've come through it very well in kind of keeping magic away from you, which is really going to be the case in a lot of the stuff we're talking about in Tolkien, because you don't have clerics, and obviously there are only a couple wizards, the Astari, that were sent over. So in that standpoint, if you wanted to play really true hardcore, you could go into that. Or one of the things that I found while I was looking for stuff for this, I've kind of set this up myself, but this is, if you can see that is Savage Middle-earth. This is a rule set that was done by a fan, and takes the whole system and creates it and takes it over into Savage Worlds. So if you like Savage Worlds and really easy gaming, you can use that, and then that is going to transfer the most to the Middle-earth movies, where you're just going to whack, just taking out, orcs here and there and yawn, because they are, they're just considered to be, just fodder. And then you can have your bosses be your wild cards. So in that standpoint, this really works if you're looking to have a movie feel. If you were looking for more of the book feel, then obviously the other systems would work better for you. Nevertheless, that's all I've got today here for Dark Mage of the Rhudaur. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm having a lot of fun looking at this Middle-earth stuff that I've had on my shelf for so many years and haven't had the opportunity to play or look at. Thank you, whoever on this site told me that there is a Rhudaur edition, which there was, and I had. I didn't even know it. I think that's it for today. Hopefully you'll subscribe, hit notifications if you can, and come back and visit us again. We'll do this every Tuesday. We'll have a non-TSR product. I'll probably continue in this line for a while if these continue to be popular, and because I'm enjoying it. So otherwise, that's all for today. And as always, great gaming!